You're the one people count on, the one who stays calm, steady, and composed, no matter what. And from the outside, you look like you're thriving. But what they don't see is how often you're holding your breath just to get through the day. Not because you're crumbling, but because you don't have the option to fall apart. There's no space to admit you're unsure, no room to say, I don't know. So instead, you keep over preparing, over delivering, over functioning just to silence the quiet fear that maybe you haven't earned your seat at the table. But here's what's actually happening. You didn't build your success on confidence. You built it on pressure. And the more you try to prove you belong, the more your exhaustion becomes invisible to you and you just keep pushing through. That's why today I'm showing you how to interrupt the internal pressure to perform so you can shift out of pressure-driven leadership and into aligned, grounded authority without stepping back or settling for less. Because burnout doesn't always look like crashing. Sometimes it looks like composure held together by a thread. But before we dive in, let me introduce myself. Hello, my name is Leslie Gaudette, and I'm a self-care strategist for high-achieving women who lead with excellence, but are quietly carrying the weight of doing it all. And they want to make sure that they protect their energy, they stop performing from pressure, and they lead from grounded clarity instead, using high-performance self-care strategies that work in real life. Because leadership shouldn't come at the cost of your well-being, and success shouldn't require silent self-sacrifice. Now, if you've been carrying the quiet weight of needing to prove yourself, even in rooms you've already earned your place in, stay with me because by the end of this session, I'm going to walk you through a real-time strategy to interrupt the internal pressure loop and help you shift from performing your role to actually leading it with clarity, not fear. No overhauls, no waiting until burnout forces your hand. Just one shift that changes how you lead, one decision at a time. Now, sometimes the biggest shift isn't a new strategy. It's actually finally naming the pressure that's been driving you underneath it all. So before we talk about what to do, we need to talk about what's been happening behind the scenes, the kind of burnout that no one sees coming because it hides behind excellence. Now, I want you to understand that it may not be the work that's actually burning you out. Instead, it could be the pressure to look like the weight of leadership never touches you. Like you've got it handled all the time, even when you're tired, even when you're unsure, and even when the mask feels heavier than the work itself. You show up sharp, composed, and capable. And on the outside, everything looks seamless, right? But on the inside, you're managing a whole second job, the job of looking like you've got it all together. You edit your words before you speak, not because it's wrong to pause, but because lately you're not sure you'll say the right thing. You rehearse your tone before hitting send on that email, reading it out loud over and over again just to make sure that it lands the right way. Now, it's not wrong to be thoughtful, but lately it feels like you don't even trust yourself to write an email without second guessing yourself. You say yes when you want to pause and take a break just to recharge, not because you can't handle the ask, but because somewhere deep down inside, there's this whisper, that voice in your head that's saying, if I don't keep proving I belong here, someone might question it. So you over prepare, you over function, you over deliver, not for the recognition, but for the reassurance. And that constant bracing for judgment, for being misunderstood, for being perceived as being not enough becomes a slow, invisible burnout. Not the kind that knocks you out in one dramatic fall, but the kind that quietly drains you while you keep showing up with a smile. And this becomes the kind of burnout that comes from carrying too much unseen weight, trying to look like leadership, even though you're already leading well, and no one's questioning your performance but you. And this kind of hidden burnout doesn't show up as collapse. It shows up as overcompensating and doing more, giving more, saying yes again and again just to stay one step ahead of the voice inside your head that's telling you you're still not doing enough. So I want to talk about that and what it looks like when it becomes your normal and how easily it gets mistaken for strength. You say yes when you want to say no because you're afraid of what they will say about you if you don't. You double check your work. You triple check the details. You reread that email over and over again, not out of care or excellence anymore, but from that quiet fear of being misunderstood, judged, or questioned. You don't call it fear, of course, because you instead are calling it thorough. You're being responsible, being on your game, right? But underneath that, there's that loop that keeps running. If I can just stay one step ahead of the criticism, if I can just say yes fast enough, if I can just hold it all together a little longer, maybe no one will notice how hard I'm working just to feel worthy of the seat I've already earned. This is the pressure loop that looks like leadership, but it's really performance disguised as responsibility, making you overfunction just to feel safe being seen. This isn't you being extra prepared. This is the part of you that's bracing. You're answering your emails right away. You're saying yes before checking in with yourself, and you're over delivering on every single task because slowing down feels risky. You don't feel comfortable. Because the second you stop overfunctioning, you worry that someone might question if you really belong in the role that you're filling. And you'd never say this out loud because you've built a reputation on being the calm one, the strong one, the one who can handle it, so that when pressure starts building behind the scenes, you don't pause, you don't ask for space, you just tighten the smile, add it to the to-do list, and you push through. And no one questions it, especially not you. Because on the surface, it looks like confidence, it looks like leadership, but inside, it's exhausting. Because now you're not just managing your workload, you're managing the performance of looking like you're not affected by any of what's going on behind the scenes. And here's what makes this loop so dangerous: it rewards you right up until it breaks you. So you get the praise, you get the recognition, you look like the most put together woman in the room. But the cost is that you're slowly building a version of leadership that's requiring you to hide the very things that make you human. And over time, you're no longer leading from clarity, you're leading from fear. So if you've been carrying that weight quietly, always trying to do more, to show more, to prove more, even when no one's questioning you, but you're the one that's questioning everything. It's not because you don't belong in the room. It's not because you don't belong in the role. It's because the pressure to prove has become your default. And now it's running the show, quietly driving how you lead, how you respond, and how you show up in your life. But here's what I want you to understand. You don't have to keep performing just to feel like you've earned your place, your space, right, in the room. You don't have to keep producing just to feel safe being seen. There is a way to lead without carrying that invisible pressure. And that's what I want to walk you through right now using my method, the Yes Reset method, which is a strategy to help you shift from pressure-driven output to aligned, grounded leadership without stepping back or settling for less. And let's be real. You don't need more tips on setting boundaries. You don't need to block more time off on your calendar. You just need a way to protect your time and energy now while you're still in motion so that you can avoid burnout from doing too much because of all of the pressure. So now before you say yes, we're going to go through these steps. Before you say yes to the next thing that crosses your desk, before you jump into another opportunity or another task or another commitment, the first step is for you to run it through step one, which is the 3-question yes filter. Question one, does this align with my highest priority focus for right now? Just because it looks like a smart leadership move doesn't mean it's the right one for right now. And the question is so important because this helps keep you grounded in your actual priorities so that you don't end up saying yes just to prove that you're capable or that you're trading your capacity for credibility that you've already earned. The second question is, am I saying yes from alignment or from obligation, guilt, or fear? Because understand this. The energy behind your yes shapes the outcome. So when you say yes out of pressure, you don't just give up time, you give up your clarity, your peace, and your presence. And the trade-off is rarely worth it. And finally, the third question in the 3-question yes filter is, what am I trading for this yes? Because understand this, every yes is a trade. Before you commit to saying yes, you want to ask yourself, what is this going to cost me? Is it going to be the mental clarity I need to lead decisively without second guessing every move? Or the calm, grounded presence that you bring into your meetings before you start rushing from one fire to the next? Or is it the quiet moments that used to belong to you, but now they get filled with late night replies, last minute pivots, and one more thing before bed? This filter is so important because it helps interrupt those default yes decisions so that instead of making reactive choices that protect your image, you start making intentional ones that protect your energy and leadership integrity. So here's an example. Let's say a team member emails you late Thursday afternoon and they say, "Hey, any chance you can review this and get it back to me first thing tomorrow instead of Monday?" Now, you haven't checked in with yourself. You haven't paused to assess what's already on your plate. And instead, you just say yes because you want to be seen as reliable, responsive, and on top of it. You want the higher ups to see you as being the go-to person, a real team leader. But what's the cost here? You cancel your evening reset walk. You work through dinner, distracted and tense. You stay up late trying to finish, doubting your own edits. You wake up foggy, right? You wake up foggy, miss your morning routine, and roll straight into a full day already behind on energy. And you show up to your leadership meeting not feeling grounded, but instead you're performing, trying to keep it together, even if you feel exhausted. And understand this, if this is your MO, this happens because of one quick yes, meant to show commitment, which instead it's coming at the expense of your clarity and your capacity that you needed to actually lead well, right? So all from one misaligned yes, because you didn't check in with you. What matters most to you right now, whether the energy behind your yes is clean and what you're trading for that yes. And that's why it's so important and why the 3-question filter is so important for you to use because it's meant to protect your time and your energy in real time so that you don't end up making a very costly trade. Okay, step 2, categorize your decisions. Once you've run it through the filter, here's how you categorize it. If it's a yes, that means it's aligned and it supports your top priorities. Now, if it's a no, that means you understand that it's going to either drain or distract you, or that it doesn't fit your focus for right now, that it's not a top priority. And the third is if it's not a right now, or it's meant for later on during the week or later on during the month, or later on at some point, it means that it has potential, but it's not for right now. Or it's something that can be done later in the week in a time slot that actually makes sense, that you know that your time and your energy can support it, and because you know it's not urgent for right now. For example, let's say again, another team member messages you. I'm going to use Thursday afternoon again because I feel like a lot of time things end up, people are trying to wrap up the week with, big wins and they're trying to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted before the weekend arrives, right? So this person messages you late Thursday afternoon and they say, "Hey, quick thing. Would you be willing to step into tomorrow's client meeting to support me? It's last minute, I know, but your presence would really help." Now you respect them, you want to support your team, right? And on paper, it sounds like a small ask. You're capable. And because of that nagging voice in your head, though, pushing you, it feels like something you feel that you should do. It looks good on paper. It looks good to the higher ups, right? That you're that go-to person, that you're that team player. But when you pause instead and you intentionally check in with yourself, you realize that you've already cleared space for Friday to prep for an upcoming leadership meeting offsite, right? Or maybe you've been in back-to-back meetings all week and you haven't had time to think strategically. You need time to reset, to recalibrate. Or maybe you promised yourself that you'd log off early on Friday to attend your daughter's recital. So again, when you pause to run a decision through a filter like the 3-question yes filter, you realize this isn't a yes, it's a no. And it's not because you're not capable, but it's just not going to be supporting your overall well-being, your priorities, and it would have you putting your needs last, or maybe even not at all. So instead of defaulting to, "Sure, I'll jump in," instead you say, "I trust you. You've got this. I'd love to support you, but right now I'm already committed to something really important. But if you need help reviewing your game plan before tomorrow, I am happy to do that with you today." And just like that, you've protected your energy, you maintain boundaries without abandoning your team, and you're modeling leadership through clarity, not through overfunctioning. Now, that one shift, choosing based on aligned timing rather than pressure, is going to free up your bandwidth, right? It's going to protect your time and your energy, and it's going to keep you focused on what actually matters for right now. Now, finally, step three is to protect your yes energy. And this is where I think most people stop short because first, they filter, they have some kind of framework, they filter their decisions, they categorize them, but then they don't protect their decisions 100%. And here's the truth. Even aligned yeses can drain you if you don't build in recovery, margin, or awareness around your energy, right? Because your energy is what supports how you use your time. It's your most valuable resource. And yes, time is important, but if you don't have the energy to support what you have in those time slots, you're not going to show up as the best version of yourself. So here's what protecting your yes energy can look like. First of all, noticing hesitation. That pause that you feel, it matters, okay? It's not always resistance because sometimes it's your body telling you this isn't it. This doesn't fit. It's not going to align. It doesn't align well, or I really just, it's going to take me off my flow, or it's going to interrupt something that I have that I promised myself or my family or other obligations that I have. Saying no strategically is important, not because you're scared, but because saying no creates space for what's really yours to say yes to. So it's really understanding that becoming consciously aware of your choices and what you're putting on your calendar and how you're using your time and your energy and how that's affecting every other area of your life. And then you want to guard your energy like premium fuel because it is. It's not just about your time and your energy, right? It's about your presence and how you show up in the areas of your life that are important to you, your clarity and being clear on what you focus on so that you give it your best, and your ability to lead and decide well. This method isn't about overhauling your life. It's just about building in tiny reset points into your day that so that you can continuously lead without that pressure and decide without guilt in the moment, showing up in your personal life as well without the leftovers of your workday bleeding into your relationships because you're not bringing work home with you. Because when your yes is aligned, your focus is clear and decisive. Your peace of mind is prioritized because you understand that taking care of you the best that you can allows you to show up as the best version of yourself and to lead well, yourself in your relationships, yourself in your work, with your work colleagues, with your friends, with your family. And you finally start leading from trust, trusting yourself and trusting your decisions. Now, if today's conversation hit home, I understand. It can really feel crazy when someone can actually call you out on the things that you're doing, right? But it's important that if this is where you're at and you're now realizing just how much energy you are spending trying to look composed, capable, and on all the time, even when you're already showing up and delivering, and you've been quietly craving a different way to lead, one that protects your peace without you having to prove anything, that's important. And so if that's you and you're feeling this call, I invite you to drop the word aligned in the comments or send me a message and we can chat privately. Again, even if you drop the word aligned in the comments, I'll reach out to you. Or you can just send me a message directly and we can chat privately and talk about what protecting your yes energy could look like for you and whether now's the time to start making those shifts. There's no pressure, there's no pitch. I just want you to know this is a real conversation about what's been costing you the most and what reclaiming it could make possible for you. So before we wrap up, here's what I want you to understand. The most exhausting part of leadership isn't the work itself. It's the quiet performance that's happening behind the scenes, the pressure to look like you've got it all together all the time, even when you're holding it all by a thread. And here's the truth. Your worth, it was never meant to be earned through exhaustion, right? In the doing. You don't have to prove that you belong in the room, in the role that you are occupying, right? You don't have to prove you belong by overextending yourself just to feel safe being seen. Real leadership isn't about pushing through to be enough. It's about anchoring into the truth that you already are. And when you lead from that place, you don't just protect your energy, you protect your presence, you lead with clarity, and you start building a version of success that doesn't cost you your peace to maintain it. So if nothing else from today sticks, let this land. You don't have to perform for permission to be in the role that you're in, to belong at the table. You don't have to prove that you belong there. If you're sitting in a leadership role, obviously you have those skill sets that have allowed someone to see that within you, and it's why you're in that leadership role. And you don't have to burn out to be respected. Okay, so take that pause and reset your yes decisions. Start leading from who you are, not who you think you have to be. Now, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and click the bell so that you know when I'm going live next. And also, again, make sure if you want to chat more, drop the word aligned in the chat. I'll reach out to you. You can also email me directly, and I'll make sure that I put my email within the show notes. But also be sure to share this with a woman you know who's been carrying more than she lets on, so she can stop performing and start protecting her peace and finally get her life back too. Right? Let's share this. Let's make this world a better place by supporting each other. Thanks for being here. Make sure to take care of you, and I will see you next time.